Okay, well, there's a very capable video already out on YouTube about doing Ford Focus outer tie rod ends and possibly inner tie rod ends. I recommend you watch those to get a good complete picture of this operation. But I'll just give you a real brief overview of this. People say I talk too long in my videos, so we'll try to make this kind of brief. This car has a worn out outer tie rod end. You have an outer, which is right here. You have an inner, which is inside that thing, in that boot in there, which is actually attached to the rack, the steering rack. And you can replace both of these. You can replace the whole tie rod, the ends. I'm not sure, some of these is like a, I had a Taurus I had to replace a tie rod on, and there's a tool that goes in that, but we're not going to worry about that. We're not doing that one right now. So we are doing this one, and boy, that didn't sound good. So that was a Mustang too. Maybe it's got cylinder deactivation. Well, anyway, sometimes I just kill myself. No, anyway, so this car, the symptoms it was having was, I didn't know I actually had a bad tie rod end. I was out here doing something else with this front end. I knew it had some rattling going on, and I had to replace this thing on the other side. This is a common thing. This is a sway bar end link, and the same thing happens to them. The little joint in there gets dry and it wears out and rattles and it's loose. But I was looking at this, and I was just moving the front end around, and I noticed, hopefully I can do this, but you can see that I'm moving so much there. I'm sorry if you can't. Let me try to position the camera up here where you can see that. Watch that, how much that moves right there. You see that right there? That ain't supposed to do that, as we say down here in the South. So it's worn out, and that's a definite safety hazard, because if this thing gets so worn out that it comes apart, you have no steering no more. So anyway, you don't want that. So we're going to replace this. I went to the parts store and got another one, and just got a good, decent quality one. I am not going to the junkyard to get a tie rod end for this car. I don't do that. Even I have limits. So it's really simple to get this thing out. I just jacked the car up under the there's a little spot right here where the suspension mounts to the frame. That's what I used to jack the car up with, and you should have a jack stand under it somewhere under here also. Make sure you do that. But after that, first thing I did is, this is about a 20 or 21 millimeter nut right here on this tie rod. I didn't have one that large, but I did have an adjustable wrench. So I just got it on there and adjusted it like it should be, and I took my rubber mallet and I just hit it a few times till it broke loose. And this is on the passenger side, by the way, so be cognizant of which way the threads on this tie rod are going. So this one's, they're angled this way, so the stuff is going to turn righty-tighty, so to speak. So the one on the other end may be different if you're doing the left. This is the right side. So anyway, I got that thing loose, and I didn't try to unscrew it. I just got it broke loose and then put it back where it was. And I did that before loosening the rest of this. And so now what I'm going to do is, we have to take this nut off of here. And sometimes these tend to turn, and this has a neat little thing right here on the top, which you hardly ever see. I've seen it in more than one spot on this car. You can take a Allen wrench, or an Allen wrench socket adapter, whatever you want to call this thing, and put it in there. This is a, what is this one? This is a 5 millimeter. Is that what that says? 5 millimeter. And you can hold that with your ratchet or whatever you have, Allen key, while you're turning this with a wrench. And probably especially that'd be true trying to tighten it back up. So, and I think the one I bought doesn't have that. So we'll see how that goes. Another trick you can do too, if you have one of these that's trying to insert the shaft part of it's trying to turn while you're trying to tighten it. This thing is a tapered shaft in here, and that's what he said. Anyway, it's a tapered shaft, so you can take another jack, like a small bottle jack or another small Ford jack or any kind of jack, and jack up on this thing, the bottom of this carefully, and put pressure on it, and the interference fit will prevent that from turning, that inside part. So, and what we'll do after that is I'm going to run this thing out here. Now I'm going to run this nut on out. As I said, it's very exciting watching somebody unscrew this, but there's a couple different ways to go about getting this out. Since it's an interference fit, it's probably in there kind of tight. You can use what's called a pickle fork. If you're going to replace this, the quickest thing to do is use a pickle fork, and I have one over here. I'll show you. I said I did. I hope I do. Oh, which may not have it. There it is. This is what's called a pickle fork. Why? I don't know. But if you don't like calling it a pickle fork, you can call it a suspension thingy removal tool. But the premise of this is it's angled like that. See that angle on it? So you stick this in like this, and you whack on the end of it, and it should bust that thing loose. But word of caution on that is when you do that, it's usually going to wreck this boot right here. Now this boot is already wrecked. The whole thing's already junked, so we don't care about that. So we can use this. But if you have to take your suspension apart and you want to salvage this ball joint or tie rod in, then you can usually put just a little bit of pressure on this thing and take something and hit this, not this part, but hit this steel right here with a hammer, steel hammer, and oftentimes the shock will break that thing loose. It'll just pop down and pop out. So you can do it that way. But that's how we're gonna do this job here to get this out. And you can also, you run this thing out, you can also take your hammer and tap on the top of it. Just for laughs, I'll use my rubber mallet and tap on it. We'll see what happens. But nothing. So I have to beat on it. But another word of caution. Ooh, like the camera got blurry. Either that or my arm's shaking. If you beat on this thing with a steel hammer, it's going to wreck the top of this thing. So do not do that if you're going to reuse the tie rod end. If it's junk like this one, you can beat it up all you want to, as long as you can get it out. But that's why that's why I use the technique of putting this nut up here, so it can take most of the abuse. And then it's just going to be a matter of, since I don't feel like editing a video again, I've taxed my video editing skills on the last two videos. You're just simply going to unscrew this tie rod end off like that. Just run it out, unscrew it. Try to leave that nut exactly where it was. If you even need to tape it in where it's at so it don't move, you run the new one in and get it put back in here. Tighten the new nut down like it. You ought to know how to do that easily. It's easy. Tighten the thing down, get it all the way in, tighten it down, tighten that nut back the way it was. You're done. You need to take it for an alignment. Now this car, I'm gonna hold off on the alignment for a little while till I see if I have other problems that need to be dealt with, and then I'll take it for an alignment. So anyway. Alright, well, I hope that just gave you a brief overview. This wasn't intended to be a thorough video. Sometimes I feel like doing thorough videos and sometimes I don't. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.